Hello and welcome to episode 181 of Dissonant Waves. My name is Dominic. Ritz and Trix are here.
Hello.
Yep. Bonjour.
And we have a fair amount of things to talk about this week. This
That we
time,
do.
this time around, we are bringing the Radiohead and Muse comparison series to a close. It is Radiohead's A Moon-Shaped Pool with a accompanying list of James Bond themes and pitches I have for artists who could do it. To kind of wrap it up, since Spectre was a single around this time. Trix, you picked Dr. Dog's Psychedelic Swamp and then MIDI Swamp, a cover version
Yes,
that
I
they also
did.
released of their album. And then Ritz,
A little bit more, but we'll get into it when we
yes,
cover
yes.
it.
Yeah.
Ritz, you chose Party Dozen's Crime in Australia.
Yes, I did.
And I for the record, I do just want to kind of talk for a minute here about this whole Radiohead and Muse series thing has been a lot for us. It also has been a really weird time capsule of just where things have been.
Yeah.
Like when I started
Yeah.
doing these, I was still living at my parents' house, and now as of next week when we do the Muse on the last Muse album, they'll be selling the house.
And I think the
Yeah.
other important thing to mention as well is it's not just for us, it's for a lot of people. I know Muse probably isn't falling under that same favor when it comes to the more indie crowd these days, but these are both bands that we've all grown up with. I know Trix, not really, but me and Dominic definitely have grown up with these bands a lot more. So it's not just going back into I guess, the music that we loved, but trying to remember how we felt or how we loved it and all that stuff, and then all the memories that are going into this, and then realizing our disappointments. It's been an emotional roller coaster, hasn't it, Dominic?
Yes,
Yeah.
and one that for better or worse, we have seen pretty much everything there is to see. If the spirit of Tom York does not overtake me, we will be ending very soon.
Now, I'm going to assume that whilst we're in this, we'll probably get into this Radiohead James Bond thing. But you added on a challenge for us this week,
Yes.
Dominic. You told us
Yes.
to get 5 songs ready that you think would work for the James Bond theme, kind of like how you've added onto the playlist. But
Yes.
I said before we get to that and before we start on here, that I ended up having more than 5 songs, so I had to cut it down. I ended up having 9 that I picked in the end here. And I figure I should do the little crazy honorable mentions that I kind of figured in the end. Okay, let's be a bit more realistic. These aren't going to be like Bond themes or anything like that. But I went for some crazy takes here because that's the fun of this challenge as well, is not just go full serious going at. So the first one I figured, okay, well if I'm already going batshit, what's one that actually kind of sounds like a Bond theme that definitely in no way would be allowed to be a Bond theme? And we've covered this one. Bjork, it's Oh So Quiet.
Ooh, that would be really interesting.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
has that. It has that orchestral moments that I'm hearing in a lot of these Bond themes. The way that Bjork sings kind of throws back into a lot of those early Bond theme singers as well. In a sense, it's actually a really good Bond song, but it's not even Bjork's original song.
And they definitely would not allow her to do that.
Yeah. Another one that I kind of went for, and it's going into now some of that more modern stylings, where I feel like a lot of the kind of more modern Bond, whilst it's still kind of very similarly structured, I guess, in a way, it kind of really focuses itself on build-ups a lot, if you kind of notice that. The kind of build-ups and the payoffs.
Yeah.
There's an all kind of like slowcore, kind of ambient song that I think its actual vibes would work. Unfortunately, one of the members recently passed away, so this band's not going to make a Bond song anytime soon because I don't know if they're going to make a song for themselves anytime soon. I hope they somehow continue. But that's Lowe's Dancing in Blood.
Okay.
All right.
Then I figured throw an absolute curveball, go back to some of that orchestral, but not in that same way as Bjork, in that kind of more, I guess, like chaotic way. If you can kind of get what I'm thinking in that way for it, but it's a real curveball. This one, would get rejected for, I guess, being too experimental. Middle East Mount Morgan End.
Oh, the Middle East would do a great Bond theme.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they would.
And the last one, which kind of follows into that whole build-up, have a popular singer doing it, a popular producer behind it, was Flume with Damon Albarn's self-titled track from his last album, Palaces.
Okay.
Those are all the honorable mentions that I thought this could work. But I think the 5 songs that I've picked kind of all fit just a little bit better. Or at least I think they're funnier picks.
Sure.
I have 2 honorable mentions myself, and one of them is a song, and one of them is an artist that I just kind of wanted to pitch as an idea.
Sure.
And the first one of those, that's the actual song, is I had Cage the Elephant's Trouble.
I can see. Yeah, I can kind of see that. Yeah,
I can see Cage the Elephant being picked around the Quantum of Solace Skyfall days.
I could too. And the other one I had pitched that is just kind of an idea is I'd like to see Aphex Twin do a Bond theme.
I mean, considering the Madonna theme, I think that would be interesting.
Well, since I guess we're here, should we start on the James Bond side of this? Or
let's do that. Let me go over the list that I actually put together here, because I put together 10 actual themes, and then the Spectre theme that Radiohead did do, and then 5 pitches I had. So, Chris Cornell's "You Know My Name" from Casino Royale, "The World Is Not Enough" from Garbage, "The Living Daylights" by Aha, "Live and Let Die" from Paul McCartney and or Wings, Shirley Bassey's "Goldfinger," Adele's "Skyfall," Tina Turner's "Goldeneye" with accompanying instrumentation by The Edge and Bono, "Die Another Day" by Madonna, "Another Way to Die" by the weird duo of Jack White and Alicia Keys, and "Writings on the Wall," the actual theme from Spectre that got picked by Sam Smith. Then you got the Spectre song by Radiohead. Then my picks were Janelle Monáe with "Baba Baya" from the Archandroid, Kylie Minogue's "Confide in Me," Chappell Roan's "Good Luck Babe," Sufjan Stevens with "Visions of Gideon," and my big swing, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard's "Lord of Lightning."
So I reckon we'll get to your picks at the end of this kind of the segment here. I think we'll start off with the James Bond, and the Radiohead one will get mixed in with it because it is a song that was written for James Bond, regardless or not if it was actually used.
Yes.
And this is, in a sense, the 10 songs that were picked for actual Bond themes, I think kind of perfectly captures where Bond songs have gone and what they were. It was definitely, when it started, it was a lot more jazzier. Like it had that whole side of the orchestral, and then it's now started to move towards, I guess, the more mainstream sounds that are happening anyway. You know, when you get these artists like Sam Smith or Madonna, you're going into that, you're going to get their music. I don't think they're going to make a jazz song anytime soon, and thank fuck. But you go back into the Shirley Bassey times as well, who is the only artist to have done it multiple times, and deservingly so. Gorgeous vocals,
of course, she's fantastic
on there, and it's a weird kind of, I guess, time machine that we're going through here. Like we're just going through what was kind of popular then.
And it's worth noting too that sometimes these songs had 2 versions. Like one was a little more Bondy, the other one was a little more like, I think The Living Daylights is a great example. I believe there is a version that for the movie is a little more orchestral Bond thematic kind of mixed in there. Then their version was a little more their version. So I just went with the version that they released because that's the one that people know.
And you also didn't put this in chronological order, funnily enough.
No, because, well, I kind of started with a song that I liked, and then I worked backwards, through the decades, and then after that was like, all right, let's fill this out with some other interesting picks.
And I'll see if I can get the I guess the Bond themes, if we can get like a full list of it.
Yeah. The one that I was struggling to include, the one that I ended up cutting was the newest one, the Billie Eilish theme.
Yes. So
but a lot of these I included specifically because of the arguments you could make regarding other artists doing it.
So I look at the last three the last three soundtracks, and look into a sense with No Time to Die, which we haven't actually covered, but I guess we are talking about now because I'm talking about it. With Billie Eilish, there was going to be no one else who was going to do it. With the direction that they're doing, Bond songs in and all that, it kind of just made sense. It was always going to be Billie Eilish was always going to do a Bond theme. It was just always going to happen. But the last three Bond themes, boring as batshit. I'm sorry, but I feel like they have no fucking heart with them. And I guess I've got the Billie Eilish fans come out and fight me about that, but whatever. I mean, I'm not even that high on the Radiohead Spectre theme, but it's better than the Sam Smith one.
So, I have really mixed opinions about that. I think, I like the moody orchestral thing that Sam Smith is going on a lot. I think, especially the opening, it just sounds like what James Bond's sex is. Like, just that really lush orchestral string accompaniment. It sounds passionate. It sounds just,
It sounds shaken, not stirred.
Yes. The problem is that song does not work for that movie.
Not really.
Having seen Spectre in theaters, having seen that, it's not one of the best modern Bond movies.
Oh yeah, I think I should probably preface this as well, which is not a preface because it is way into this discussion.
Yeah,
I have only watched 2 Bond films.
That's fine.
I've seen a handful. I'll get into stories as they relate to the tracks.
Yeah, I saw all of them. I kind of made myself see all of them. So
yeah, that's fair. We know you, Domino.
Yes, but I have always really liked Writings on the Wall, the Sam Smith theme, as a song. I think it really captures the sex appeal, just what makes James Bond interesting and cool and sensual in that way. Does not fit the movie. Not at all. And the Spectre theme from Radiohead does it a little bit better, but I think that movie's problem in general, just none of the songs that they had were perfectly fits.
No.
The Lana Del Rey one that was Surface 24, that's way more sultry and lounge singery. The other B-side that Radiohead was going to try to submit, it kind of works, but it's not really thematically tied either. So, I don't know.
Well, I'm going to piss you off even more, though.
Sure.
Because I'm kind of just looking at it, and the modern James Bond, which I guess is now ended for this era, spoilers, which I haven't even said the spoiler yet, is the Daniel Craig era.
Yes.
And I'm looking at all the songs that were there. There were 5 songs in the Daniel Craig era. Another Way to Die is the only good one.
Oh, no.
I disagree.
Oh, no.
I disagree.
No.
I'm sorry to say.
You cannot make me hate Adele.
So, historically...
I don't say I hate Skyfall, but I don't care for it.
Skyfall's been way overplayed. Skyfall just is there's a TikTok of the Fairly Odd Parents last episode, with the big plot twist, and they fucking drop Skyfall in there.
I've seen that.
And that has ruined that song for me forever.
Plus, also remember, we talked about this as well. Muse ended up putting out a better Bond theme on the second Lord than Skyfall.
I mean, yeah, that captures the assassin in James Bond pretty well, Supremacy.
Yeah.
That's some Assassin's Creed trailer level shit
Which
that they could do.
I didn't put Muse Supremacy in the Bond theme thing in there because I thought it was just too easy of an answer. I was trying not to do either Muse or Radiohead.
That was kind of part of what I was hoping for.
Yeah. But if I did choose to include that would have been number 1 or 2 in my choices.
Of the ones that I've picked, and overall, really, I my 2 least favorite themes of all of them have been Another Way to Die and Die Another Day. Just not great tracks. I historically have hated the Madonna theme a lot, but
I admire the Madonna theme for one reason, and that's because it's completely different, and it has that line about no cliches, and I figured, okay, well, you actually do get to back that up by having the like the least cliches in a Bond song.
And
But
like,
yes, the song does suck.
I appreciate it more now that I've like put it in this context because it has more electronic influence and it sounds like a song that probably would come later. Like it's kind of like, oh yeah, that's from fucking 2002. Holy shit! Like she was on something with that. That song just wasn't it.
Yeah.
But Another Way to Die, I believe now is my least favorite Bond theme because it just sounds just fucking lazy.
It sounds like a Jack White track.
Like, and Jack White's fine. I liked Jack White enough. Like,
I disagree with the laziness of it. It's not bombastic or anything like that, but it's working subtly. It's letting the right pieces of what makes a Bond theme actually stand out in it. I know, is it the best Bond theme out of all this? No, but is it the best out of Daniel Craig era for me? Yeah, because I think it's actually the one that's the best well written, and it doesn't feel like it's just ripping off what's already been done.
That Bond thing specifically to me reads like, oh shit. I guess we can do Jack White, but we need someone else. We need something more to give to like hype up like a duo.
Oh yeah, Alicia Keys was so huge in the late noughties. Like I think people have forgotten that Empire State of Mind was basically just playing 24/7 everywhere.
Yes, and like Quantum of Solace, the movie specifically was, you know, it was kind of pitched as like there is like a girl with him the entire time, so it's kind of like, well, we'll kind of do that too.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that song just sounds like Jack White and Alicia Keys went into a room together and just struggled to find a song, and then after a while we're like, I guess this one works. Just kind of that like resigned, like, well, nothing's really firing, but we got something out of it, so I guess that'll just have to do.
Well, I guess, boss, this is technically the Radiohead musing, and the thing that I've been doing, Dominic, over the Radiohead era is the Hottest 100 placing.
Yeah.
A very, I guess, interesting take that we've had on there. Now, I think we'll just do it from the Daniel Craig era. You know what? No, we can check all of this because it's actually not that much that would be in Hottest 100 era. It only goes back to GoldenEye, which surprisingly that didn't make it. Surprisingly was a bit of a joke there. And I don't believe any had made it prior Daniel Craig era, but I'm currently just confirming that. So feel free to say something else whilst I'm searching all this stuff up.
In the US, Bond themes were popular, it seems like, but really the Daniel Craig era is what made them like pop culture hits. Like,
yeah,
Dying of the Day peaked at number 3 in the US. One we didn't cover, Duran Duran's A View to a Kill, peaked at number 2, but beyond that, like they charted a lot of them, but none of them got in like the top 10. Some of them didn't even chart.
All right, so two songs out of all of the James Bond themes have made a Hottest 100, and it should be pretty easy which two ones they are. So I'll let you have the guest here, Dominic and Trix.
Skyfall.
Dominic, which songs do you reckon made the Hottest 100?
No Time to Die, Skyfall.
Okay, so I thought it was going to be pretty easy for you two, but you got 1 out of 2. No Time to Die made it at number 90 in 2020, because that's actually when it was released.
Right.
It was released because that was the whole thing. It was like COVID happened, and usually it's released the same year as the film. But the No Time to Die was actually 2021, and then COVID and blah blah. I think that's just an interesting factoid for everyone to remember. And that came in at number 90 at 2020. The highest scoring one is the Jack White and Alicia Keys one in 2008 at 87.
Oh, weird.
Interesting.
I don't know, that duo is so weird and so like I appreciate that they went for something really strange in that way of like pairing up those two. You'd never really think of it, but it just doesn't hit for me at all.
I get it.
But like, I mean, how do we feel about the themes overall besides the ones we're kind of talking about in this moment?
I love a good Bond theme.
there were some interesting ones early on, like "Live and Let Die" was I guess interesting to have. I guess just have as a Bond theme. I don't think I've ever really thought about it like a Bond theme, even though that's what it is.
When I watched Live and Let Die with my father, and during the Bond theme, he's like, if they ever do a female Bond, they should just have a bunch of burly guys with big dicks doing the intro.
I mean, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Make it fun.
Yeah.
I've always been really partial to the GoldenEye theme. I think Tina Turner fucking kills it.
Yeah, but Goldfinger's just better.
I mean, Goldfinger is fantastic. Definitely on top 5, but like,
yeah,
GoldenEye also, you can also very much hear where the N64 soundtrack comes from. Like,
I think my favorite is No Surprises, Live and Let Die.
For me, there was just a bunch though that I felt, they existed, but
like
I really couldn't really care about to go back to them. I know you're gonna hate me for a Dominic, but I don't care. I didn't care for the Chris Cornell song. I didn't care for the Garbage song. I didn't care for the Aha song. I didn't care for the Sam Smith song. The only song that I'd actually say like I kind of hated, even though it was at least interesting, was the Madonna one. I don't think it makes it the worst, just because there were some that are just so uninteresting. I think that makes it worse than that. But when it comes to which one I hated hearing, it was the Madonna song.
I know Mini-Me has highlighted the Garbage song specifically, the highlight. I liked it okay before. Having focused on it now, I kind of am not into it as much. My main problem with it is that it just sounds like the singer is like doing like karaoke almost, where it's like, okay, this is how the main melody sounds. I'm just gonna sing the title in that melody, in just a really like obvious way. Like, oh yes, the world is not just like it just feels like a very obvious choice, and the lyrics feel very obvious. Like it's not noticeably deep or anything. It's just kind of like, yeah, they did a Bond theme.
I've never been big enough into to Garbage to really ever focus on them, but I feel like that's most of their songs anyway.
But I mean, like the reason for picking Garbage, that track specifically, was because Garbage was a band that blew up really quickly, and like they got a theme out and everything, and they've had some albums after that, but they never really quite hit their '90s peak again.
Yeah, no, they were a true band of the '90s alternative boom.
And it's cool that they got the ability to do it because their album was like #1, right? So they took notice and were like, yeah, let's do something weird like that. And I picking the Tina Turner Madonna ones too, like those are two examples of like going back to a really well-known artist and giving them their time to like do it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what Tina Turner was putting out in the mid '90s, but I don't think it was anything career defining at that point. Largely, same with Madonna.
I don't know.
Madonna was releasing albums. She put out music a little bit before this, but Madonna again was not quite at the height of her prowess back in the '80s and early '90s.
No, this is not Vanilla Ice sex book Madonna.
So we've been on this one for a bit now. I think we should move on to the songs Dominic picked, just before we kind of spend too much time on this one. But I guess we should quickly mention the Radiohead single.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This counts towards the Hottest 100 in a technicality, in which it made it 200, I believe, in 2015. Let me get the exact number that it made, if someone was so kind to have stored it somewhere. 2015, or was it 2016? It was 1 year where it made it.
2016, I believe that single came out.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to find where it is, because I swear it had made it.
Other interesting artists that have done a theme that we did not cover. Sheryl Crow did a song in between Tina Turner and Garbage. Gladys Knight did a song between Aha and Tina Turner. Rita Coolidge, Sheena Easton, Carly Simon. Lulu did a track. That is one that did not chart at all. Man with the Golden Gun. People seem to have largely forgotten about it.
The only Bond movie I own, believe it or not.
Interesting. Nancy Sinatra did one. Tom Jones. Shirley Bassey did. Goldfinger. Diamonds Are Forever. And Moonraker. Moonraker is the one that people forget about that did not chart either.
Mm-hmm.
I might be wrong. I thought it made it 200, but I don't think it actually did.
Wow.
My bad.
As far as that song goes, though, the Radiohead one, this might be spoiling my feelings about the album, but I think it's one of the better songs of that era for them.
Oh, this is truly the Dissonant Waves.
Yeah.
And taken in context with the album, it's one of my favorite tracks from them of that time.
Alright, so let's go into the songs you picked.
Yeah. So, Janelle Monáe,
So,
Kylie Minogue, Chappell Roan, Sufjan Stevens, King Gizzard, and the Lizard Wizard.
Yeah.
2 out of 5 ain't bad, Dominic.
2 out of 5. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm guessing the first two are the two?
Yep.
I mean, my goal was never to be like, okay, they already did a Bond theme, so they should do one for real. Like, that was kind of the Janelle Monáe thing, because I've always thought that song specifically was made to be a Bond theme, basically.
It is very Bond-themey.
Well, actually, the big one is, Dominic, if you didn't pick it, I would have picked it in my 5 as Confide in Me.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, God, it's such a fucking good song.
It is.
There's a reason why I will shit talk a lot of popular Australian musicians, but I don't shit talk Kylie. Is because Confide in Me is enough goodwill that she can just do whatever the fuck she wants for the rest of her career. It is the perfect 90s pop song.
Like, I just wanted to cover Kylie, and I wanted to make sure we covered Good Luck Babe in a sense, but I do.
My partner's staring at me because she didn't expect me to like a Kylie Minogue song. Confide in Me is fantastic.
But I mean,
I'm not here doing Can't Get You Out of My Head. That one wouldn't fucking work.
But yeah, obviously Janelle Monáe, I think it's had the chops forever. This is Baya is just like the song that proves it the most. Kylie Minogue would very much be like the Tina Turner situation if she were to get picked at this point. Like, she's still out there making music, maybe more of a Madonna, but like, just giving her the props to just do it would be fantastic.
Yeah, but don't ever compare Kylie to Madonna again. Thank you.
I mean, I apologize. That was not fully my intention. Just
You
the comparison.
you literally just pissed off Australia.
Kylie Minogue is better.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Hold on, I'll put this. Kylie Minogue is full of queers. Madonna thinks she's full of queers.
I don't disagree with you.
I don't either.
I do like some Madonna songs quite a bit, but Kylie is better. Chappell Roan I picked very much as a this is an artist that blew up in the cycle of things. If she continues popularity in time for the next Bond cycle, I could very easily see her getting picked. And I do think Good Luck Babe shows off her vocals enough that it makes a decent case. Visions of Gideon comes from another movie soundtrack. Sufjan Stevens has done a movie soundtrack. I think Sufjan Stevens doing a Bond thing would be really weird and interesting, but I do like the idea of it. And just to pick a band, I think King Gizzard obviously could do whatever the fuck they want because they can do a million things.
Yeah, if you have it as a pick a band, King Gizzard could probably put out a Bond theme.
Yeah.
Lord of Lightning definitely ain't it.
No.
I was trying to find something that was appropriately like heavy in the instrumentation and showed off vocals enough, but not something that was like too out of the wheelhouse for what a Bond theme could be. I guess
I feel like they would have been better to pick something from Sketches of Brunswick East or something like that, which has that more jazzier side of James Bond. I feel like that is the actual style that King Gizzard would do, not the slow burners.
Sure. I mean, but the slow burns also kind of where they've been going lately for Bond themes too.
And let's be realistic as well. Out of all the 5 that you picked, if there was one that would do a Bond theme, as in it would have the chance of getting submitted and then getting released, because we all know how this works. It's not just about what's the best. It's what's the best for publicity and generating hype. So if Chaperone put out a Bond theme, that would be the most likely out of all 5 of these artists here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I understand the pick of Good Luck Babe, and maybe I'm just sick of hearing this song because I actually don't care for it that much, which I'm kind of disappointed by after having heard it, and there were moments of her debut, which I was like, okay, well, what's the next big thing? And it's just this song that does the instrumentation, like that wasn't already peaked at Bombay Bicycle Club Shuffle. It's not a Bond song. Sorry, Trix.
You're good. I on the topic of Chaperone, I would like to apologize for my slander of her last week. I get it now. I'll say that.
I don't mean to laugh, but you did just go through a breakup.
Yeah, I had a bit of a life event. I went through a breakup, and I get it now.
I just thought it was a really good song. I don't know if anyone listened to the Yacht Rock cover that I dropped in the chat, but that was actually
I did
not get a chance.
That was my gateway into like appreciating the song quite a bit.
Alright. Well, are we going to mention me and Trix's takes, I guess, for what the 5 songs we reckon should be?
Well, I mean,
Trix,
and we're gonna be listening to them for next week as well.
Okay.
No, yes, absolutely. But there's no reason we can't say them now.
Yes.
No.
I just want to make that clear.
Trix,
yeah.
I'll let you go first. Do you want to do it as drop all 5, or we each drop 1 each and then keep going?
1 each.
All right. Well, I'll let you start.
Okay. I started off with this was the first thing that popped into my head when you said pick a Bond theme, and that is Brooks Nielsen's song "Faith," the singer from the Growlers.
That would be very interesting. All right.
So, Dominic, this is not the one that I said would shock you. That's still coming up. But that being said, you probably might have assumed this would be it. And I figured this is one that has that slow burning build up, but most importantly has the vocals that I feel like could really work with a Bond song. It has that kind of chorus in the background also hitting it. Whilst the song itself might not be exactly a Bond song, I think it hits all the kind of constructive parts of the song that make up a Bond song.
Okay.
I guess it has a doomy vibe to it as well. Let's call it a post-Bond song. It doesn't sound like a Bond song, but it has all the elements that make it a Bond song.
Sure.
And that's Algiers' Dispossession.
Ooh.
Okay.
Okay.
Next, I had to sneak him in somewhere. I'm going Shaky Graves, Cops and Robbers.
All right, so my next pick kind of, I guess, falls under that more slow burner side with that kind of softer instrumentation that's been happening a lot more modern. Definitely the artists themselves wouldn't. I mean, most of these artists I picked wouldn't actually have a chance of making it because their popularity is not enough. But I think this song kind of hits that kind of vibe that a Bond song goes for. Big Scary's Leaving Home.
Okay.
I mean, it's interesting to consider that the Spectre theme, as an example, was a race between Sam Smith, Radiohead, and Lana Del Rey. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Of the 3, Lana Del Rey was actually probably the darkest horse.
Yeah.
Trix, your next pick.
All right. For this one, I went with an artist that actually has like a shot of getting picked, I feel. Although maybe not this song. I kind of just picked one in kind of the style I think it would a Bond theme would be interesting in. And that is Donald Glover stroke Childish Gambino's Lithonia.
Lithonia?
That is, the new one.
Yeah.
When I'm watching James Bond and he goes, "This is America." I like Trix for her third pick. this is probably the artist that has the best shot out of all of them, just because they have the most popularity out of all of them. And this one kind of throws back to the older style of Bond. I feel it has a bit of that kind of that chaos, the jazz influence kind of going into there as well, and that kind of softer vocals that are going into it. It's not that loud kind of vocal styles into it as well. So it feels like one that is not this whole big dramatic Bond theme whilst the credits go on, but one of those more, I guess, action or kind of, I want to say camp, but it's not really campy. You know what I'm saying here, Dominic?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's Gautier's coming back.
Oh god, Gautier thing will be so fucking good.
We were on the exact same wavelength there, Ritz, because my next pick is also a Gautier song.
Yeah,
it is 7 hours with a backseat driver.
Same album.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dominic.
Yeah.
This is the one that I figured would give you the shot.
Okay.
We haven't actually covered this EP. We covered the album way back, and this one, I mean, when you hear the opening riff, it kind of sounds like that old kind of song, and I think it's kind of like a natural evolution for that sound going onto it, but it has that kind of same vibe. So it feels like actually recreating that kind of old classic Bond whilst still sounding fresh enough. And I think the kind of the title of this sounds like a Bond title as well. That's Thelma Plum's "How Much Does Your Love Cost?"
Okay. For my last pick, I decided to go real out there, like Dominic did with King Gizzard, and I went doom metal, believe it or not.
Okay.
I picked the song "Addis" by Ohm.
So for my last pick, this one is a bit of a throwback because the first time I heard it was in the car, and my dad turned the volume up and said, "This is the best Bond song to not be a Bond song." And I said, this does technically feature an artist that was a Bond singer already.
Okay.
And to be fair, Shirley Bassey deserved 4 Bond songs. So it's not a Shirley Bassey song as the main, but she did feature on it. It's the Propellerheads' "History Repeating."
Okay.
And that's the 10 that we've picked. We'll all go through this, as well as probably go back onto Dominic's picks again next week. I did a whole 15. We have 2 Gautier songs.
Yeah.
I think coming to some kind of consensus or agreement. Like, obviously, artists like Chappell Roan has the popularity right now, but again, as we have seen over the years, they're not always going to pick the most popular artist. They're going to pick, someone who's deserving sometimes, or they probably have like a few people working on it, right? They choose the best one. At least I imagine that's how that might work. So it's always worth remembering. Chaperone might be going up against Janelle Monáe, might be going up against Gautier.
Yes.
So.
All right. I don't think we really need to favorites or least favorites of this. This was kind of the segment of talking about James Bond. Now let's go into your hot take, Dominic. Let's talk about Radiohead.
Yeah. Moon-Shaped Pool, the latest album by Radiohead. I liked this album quite a bit when it came out in 2016.
Alright, well, we can stop it there.
Now, here's the thing. I don't like it as much now.
All right.
Okay, so we truly are on the completely different page, because this is my favorite Radiohead album in a while. Like, I like In Rainbows, I wasn't really care for King of Limbs or Hail to the Thief. I don't think I really kind of properly liked a Radiohead album till since Kid A, and everything else is just there.
Mm-hmm.
This was really luscious and beautiful to listen to.
Yeah.
Is it really a Radiohead album? In a sense, kind of not. I think it's the least Radiohead sounding Radiohead album, just because there isn't all that kind of electronic experimentation happening on this or anything like that. But I think it's really soft in all the right ways, and Tom York's vocals actually properly shine out here. It doesn't feel as it doesn't feel as different for the sake of being different. It feels like it's just an actual proper fleshed out album.
It feels
and
like
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Trix, I'm curious how you felt as someone who has not bounced with Radiohead very much.
This was an alright album. It was still a bit of a cheese sandwich for me, but I feel like it's a step up from a blender. It was kind of inoffensive to listen to, I feel. I really don't have much to say, but I listened to it a couple times. It just didn't stick with me. But
this is also why I wanted to cover Tom York's stuff in the lead up to this, because I do think this is heavily influenced by Tom York's solo work.
I could see that.
Like, it does feel more placid. It feels kind of like the album art implies. The pool of water, like a spring afternoon, kind of laying there in a pathway or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's soft, but I feel like it's a little too soft for me. I feel like most of the album is kind of just listlessly coming in and out. You can kind of listen or kind of not. It's a vibe album, but like in a real sleepy way, which isn't a bad vibe. Like, it's certainly unique, especially compared to the rest of their work.
Mm.
But like, I fucking love "Burn the Witch." What a great single!
Oh yeah, it's. I mean, if it ends up as like the last like proper Radiohead single or like lead single, I guess in this case, like it's a good way for them to have gone out on this whole album. I mean that honestly could have been more of a Bond song. Some of the Bond songs we covered as well, because it does have that kind of slow burning orchestral moments come into it, but it's not actually a Bond song. It's its own kind of. It's. I'm trying to think what's the kind of the best way of describing it, because it's got a certain aesthetic to it, which it's almost somewhat spooky.
Yes,
if you get what I mean.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
But it's not like it's not a haunting. It's a haunting song, but it's not a haunting in the way of like the Jaws theme.
It's very similar to the Spectre theme.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of haunting, but not in like an overly spooky way, but more of an ethereal. Like, there's tension.
Yeah, that's ethereal.
Anxiety, but like, and that describes the album. And if I feel like if more of the songs in the middle were kind of like the Spectre theme in terms of like balancing the softness with a little bit more just oomph to it, I would have been more happy, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, for me, this album is Burn the Witch and True Love Waits, and then the Spectre theme. Everything else is kind of interesting.
No disrespect to Daydreaming. That's just a very lovely, like, just listen. I know, yes, it doesn't stand out in that same way, and it's, whilst I say this is probably one of my favorites in full to listen to since Kid A. I mean, Kid A and OK Computer, I think, have those more bigger standouts. And they're kind of on their own tier.
I'll give it to Glass Eyes as well. I'm not going to be fully slandering the whole album. I do get that it's ambient. I do get it's more orchestral. And I do like.
Yes, I do get the Tom York solo work, the kind of influence going into this, and being kind of an evolution from that. But I feel like it shows off that it's just better when it's done in the Radiohead styles than it was done in Tom York's solo way.
Yeah, having everyone come together versus just letting him do his thing. Absolutely. Like that ends up, I think, being for the best for them, because they actually work together really well.
We mentioned it before. True Love Waits was on a earlier demo compilation, so it's a song that they've had around for like 12 years, something, maybe even more. It
was on a live album.
Yeah. So they had it for a long time before it finally got released. I think some of the context of this as well was Tom York was going through a divorce at around this time.
Originally, True Love Waits was first played in like 95, so this is a long time coming.
Yeah.
He was separating from the person that he was seeing, and she also died not long after this album came out. Her artwork is actually the cover for Papa's Dead, interestingly enough.
Yeah.
Rachel Owen. I do think there is a heavy chance that this is the last Radiohead album. I think having True Love Waits be the final song is a kind of nod to that in a way. But maybe that's also the nostalgic in me talking of like, man, they finally put out the song they've been working on for 20 years.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's it's the last Radiohead album, I guess will be proven by the future. But I think after having not really had any properly new material in 8 years, and I mean they've kind of recently talked about how they were back in the studio together in a way. Yeah, I think this is planned to have been the last Radiohead, but
Unlike
I don't think they too care about sticking to that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But also, like, unlike the whole Black MIDI debacle, no one's going out there and blabbing about it. Like, they're kind of letting it rest and leaving the door open. And maybe those studio sessions will become something, but maybe they won't, right? Worth mentioning, too, that Burn the Witch was originally a song that they were working on for Kid A.
Interesting.
So, that also may be a reason why it stands out, is because when they take songs from different parts of their career, the roots of them are going to be different, right? And so maybe the songs in between were more meant and more created in a modern context. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard that. I mean, I don't think we've actually covered the King Gizzard demos, but it's interesting when you go through them and listen to the main stuff in there, where you realize how some songs were made in intent for other albums with completely different sounds. Like Automation it sounds like it was originally planned for Infest the Rat's Nest, but then was put into to KG, which is more microtonal.
Did they change it much, or is it more?
Yeah.
They changed
it. Yeah, they changed it. The demo version of Automation sounds like it was supposed to be on Infest the Rat's Nest.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So, potentially, yeah, the original version of Burn the Witch that they would have worked on in Kid A could have sounded, I guess, a lot more in that post-rocky way that they were doing there, but it's not like this doesn't have those kind of influences on it as well. It is a very cinematic album in a way.
And, after this, Tom York went on to be a composer for movies. Johnny Greenwood has been a composer for movies for a long time before this. So it's perhaps inevitable that eventually they would kind of go in that direction. But, I mean, in terms of the main Radiohead albums having different sounds, different styles, this does follow up from from King of Limbs in that way. Like, Rainbows being the acoustic hit, King of Limbs being this weird electronic album, and this kind of being soft like in Rainbows, but in a completely different way. Doing something that really only a band like Radiohead could do, in that, like, they could just get these, strings, and they can get these orchestral, like, real orchestral, people in to do it.
I think the important thing is, out of all this, though, we're finally done with Radiohead.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm glad that it's at least ended on a note that, if the worst reception out of all of us is just thinking that it's kind of bland, I think that's a happy note to die on.
The spirit of Tom York is still residing within me. I have to prevent it from getting out.
Because I know what the receptions could be like for the other side of the coin.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll get to that next week. Yeah, favorites on here: Burn the Witch, Daydreaming, True Love Waits. Least favorite, probably Tinker Tailor Soldier Sailor, Rich Man, Poor Man, Beggar, Man Thief.
Cheese Sandwich.
I like Burn the Witch. I like True Love Waits. I do kind of like Full Stop and Glass Eyes too, as like other standouts I would just mention. My least favorite's probably like The Numbers or Identikit, somewhere around there.
Yeah, The Numbers would probably be up there for my least favorite as well. It's between that and Tinker Tailor.
All right, Radiohead in the books.
Yeah.
Let's talk.
What are we doing next?
Let's take a minute here and talk about crime in Australia. It's a huge issue. Let's talk to a live Australian to tell us all about crime.
Yeah.
Party Dozen. They are a duo based in, I believe, somewhere in Australia. I think they're Sydney or Melbourne. I didn't really quite remember to check which one. It's a saxophone, a drum, and backing music. I kind of joked and said the closest comparison was Clowncore, just because of the saxophone and the drum in it. But actually, when you listen to it, the closest comparison is Lightning Bolt. Its noise pop is the best way I'm going to explain it.
I was actually thinking Death from Above 1979 while I was listening to this.
Yeah, I mean it's not lightning bolt heavy, but it's kind of
it has a very similar production style. I feel.
Yeah.
It's very indie, very like this is a thing that they're doing because they think it's fun.
Yeah.
And is it fun?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, review done. Album's fun. Everyone listen.
They should collaborate with King Gizzard. I think that'd be a really fun idea.
Yeah.
Stop asking everybody to collaborate with King Gizzard.
Honestly, though, like another band, I think you could kind of talk about, not exactly because they sound alike, but just for the weird ideas, is Tropical Fuckstorm.
Yeah.
Potentially, yes. So, this album, it's not actually instrumental. There are vocals and lyrics into it, but the way that they are presented with the production, it's near unintelligible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine.
Yes, it is.
I'm sure if I searched into the lyrics, I could find exactly what they're saying. They're probably saying something important, but they're not going to cut through on your first couple of listens at all. Yeah. And that's not the focus on this album anyway.
Yeah.
The focus is on the, I guess, the instrumentation, the sound that they're putting on here. And to be honest, it's actually kind of a quite unique sound that they have here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, we're saying they're comparisons here, but there's not really anyone doing what they're doing right now.
There's not.
You're more just looking at the album being like, what the fuck does coup de Gronk mean? Piss on Earth. I do that every day.
It's almost the Mogwai title generator happening here. But it's an album that has some very heavy rough production that goes into it that kind of really helps cement their sound that goes into it. The saxophone is the main instrument used on there. It's not a guitar. You do get some guitars and bass and stuff in the background, but the one that cuts through out of all of it the most is the saxophone, and that is doing a lot of the heavy lifting for where the tunes go in this album.
Yes.
And it helps that she's a really good saxophonist.
I just think more bands should just have some reliance on just these people that are just good at other instruments. Like when Your Arms Are My Cocoon has like a flute going, it fucking goes off.
So the pair here, by the way, the saxophonist / vocalist is Kirsty Tickle, and the percussionist is Jonathan Boulay.
It's Tickle?
That's Kirsty Tickle. That's the name on the Spotify.
That is exactly what it is. I don't know how I read that a few times and didn't even register it until now.
Interesting.
I think, funnily enough, they're doing a UK tour, so they are trying to branch out a bit more internationally as well. I hope it works out for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're going all over Europe, mostly in like the UK area. But
I saw them live at the Oxford Art Factory a couple days ago. At this point, it would have been 4 days ago, and it was nearly a sellout there. Which, Oxford Art Factory isn't the biggest venue ever, but I've seen a couple internationals this year which had the Curtain of Doom pulled on them, so they're doing quite well in the east coast of Australia. I don't know how they're doing in the other parts of it. I guess I haven't really seen, but it's a headline show that they're doing that was selling the tickets here. They might not have that large of a fan base when it comes to the streaming numbers, but it is dedicated enough that the people want to see them live, and deservingly so. They are a really fun live act.
Yeah.
The wild thing to me is that this is like their 4th album.
Yeah, they have been around for a while at this point, I believe. Yep, since 2017.
Yeah.
I kind of went into this week, and for the most of the week, assumed that this was like a debut album. And in a way, it feels like it because it's so strong and it's like what it's saying, and so like knowing what it is. And now that I know that's album 4, it makes more sense. But
it's also quite simple in a way.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I know it feels weird when I'm talking about how the production on here is kind of crazy and it's their own unique sound, but when it actually comes into the structures of these songs, they're quite simple, and it lets the sound that they have speak for itself. Now, there's a good chance that if we go into these previous 3 albums and then listen to this, we just go, okay, well, it's the same shit. But we haven't gone to these 3 albums. This is our first introduction to them. I haven't really followed Party Dozen outside of this year, so I'm kind of just starting to get into them as well.
And if it ends up being the same shit, it's the same shit. But like,
yeah,
we know that the sound
this
works.
is good. Yeah, the sound is good, and this is good.
Yeah.
There's a bit of this kind of, I guess we can say some Death from Above in the sense of, it does feel dance punky at times, this album. Definitely has quite a bit of a house influence, I would feel, on it with some of these tracks.
This would be a great opener for Donny Benet.
They opened for Regurgitator.
Oh, that also works very well.
On their Bandcamp page, it says that they've also opened for Tropical Fuckstorm and Viagra Boys.
Yeah, okay.
I believe that. Yeah, they opened for Off as well. They've been around for a while, opening for bands.
So they're just kind of well known among a lot of musicians in Australia, which is good.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can just imagine some people just bumping this in like the green room or something.
There was a show they did at Beat Just Records, a small record shop in Parramatta. I didn't get to go to it. My brother did. I can see the videos of him vibing along, and it's just this absolutely packed record store while these two are just playing in the middle. It looks so crazy. It's great.
That sounds like a dream to be at. But also kind of a nightmare, but like the memories of that would be fantastic.
Apparently they played for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which is about exactly the length of this album.
Yeah.
So there's a good chance they just played the album and just said, buy it.
You heard it here. Buy it.
Yeah.
I think this is an album which, it's not one of those, this is a contender for the album of the year. It's a complete shock. But it's one of those bands to really like get into now because their sound is interesting and they can only kind of... I don't think they can really go too much lower unless they just have no evolution at all. If they just continue to evolve what they're doing on here, they're going to put out something fantastic.
They are.
For now, this is still great though.
I quite like it. Like, it's not top of the year for me, but one of those really fun ideas that you picked.
Yeah.
Favorites on here, I like Money and the Drugs, Wake and Might, and Coup de Gronk. It's such a great fucking opener. I like The Righteous Front as well. Least favorites, probably something like, probably Piss on Earth, to be honest.
Favorites for me, Coup de Gronk and John's International Marketplace. No release favorite.
I quite like Coup de Gronk. John's International Marketplace does indeed stand out. I do like Piss on Earth. I think it's either Money and Drugs or Le Crime. That sounds really cool too. Big Man Upstairs, I think, sounds kind of nice too. I don't know. So like in general, it's just kind of good. The second half of the album doesn't catch me as much, but it's listen to it.
It's still a pretty consistent album, even if it's not probably perfect the whole way through here.
Mm-hmm.
And what is?
Yeah.
Well, we've given a couple 10 out of 10s.
Oh yeah,
we have.
Well, that was actually going to be a segue. What is the Psychedelic Swamp? Is that perfect?
Not really, but I really enjoy the Psychedelic Swamp. The Psychedelic Swamp was Dr. Dog's first album that they did not actually release. They shelved it and released Toothpaste. Although some songs off the original version of Psychedelic Swamp did make it onto Toothpaste. And that first version of the Psychedelic Swamp is actually partially lost media.
Really?
There's something like 27 songs on the original cassette, but it's only been backed up to 22 online.
Huh.
And this is really fun. It's more Dr. Dog. It's got that swamp vibe to it. I quite enjoy this.
We'll also be talking about MIDI Swamp with this.
We will be talking about MIDI Swamp, but I have my own kind of thing I want to talk about with MIDI Swamp. I'd like to.
I enjoy this more
first.
than the self-titled. This is the more the Dr. Dog style that I kind of care for.
Oh, I
have
the opposite opinion.
Even if I'm not in love with this album, I don't think there's much of those highlights as there was on. I think the best one to listen to in full is probably Be the Void.
I think this is nice. I do like some of the songs on here. I think MIDI Swamp clears this by far.
I think so too.
But this is also probably my least favorite Dr. Dog album we've listened to so far.
And I will also agree with that, but I still really like this album.
Like I do love their Beatles but swamp kind of vibe. I think they have a lot of really cool ideas about pop instrumentation and what makes their style of rock really work. Something like Badvertise is just really fucking cool.
Engineer Says is a banger too.
Bring My Baby Back, also quite a highlight. But I don't know.
Bring My Baby Back, Holes in My Back, Fire on My Back.
Fire on My Back rocks. It's got the line about slapping yourself in the testicles with a battery, which I mean,
yes.
we're all computer nerds. Who hasn't done that?
I haven't, but
I haven't.
I have, just by virtue of carrying around big chunky disposable vapes in my pocket.
I think MIDI Swamp is a very interesting experimentation. It's like, hey, what if the album but this, and it's more ends up in this kind of chiptune way, and we randomly have some moments where there are just still the vocal samples happening on there.
Yeah.
MIDI Swamp also takes from that original version of Psychedelic Swamp too. Like there's songs off of this that aren't on the official release, but are on the original.
Yeah, like Sadvertise we have, and then we have Badvertise only on the Psychedelic Swamp. We have both Sadvertise and Badvertise on the MIDI.
Mm-hmm.
And then the MIDI version has He Is Me, which fucking rips.
It does.
Like,
oh yeah, no, I did like the closer to the MIDI Swamp. Yeah.
I just love the idea of playing like a Super Nintendo game, and this is the soundtrack. That sounds very lovely.
It does, and I think that that the MIDI Swamp flows better than the Psychedelic Swamp.
Yes.
Well, I think I do have to agree. I think MIDI Swamp is the better of the two albums when it comes to Psychedelic and MIDI. It feels weird because it feels like at the start you're just like, oh, are we just listening to the Psychedelic Swamp? But it's the MIDI. But actually, there is like something to it. There is a reason for this to exist, which you know, thank fuck, we're not just listening to the instrumentational version of an album and saying, oh, but it's so different. It makes a complete difference to the album. This one is actually like kind of different and cool to go through. So like, thank fuck.
I just think the melodies stand out a lot more when they're done in MIDI. Something about the vocals, they kind of bury the melody compared to like the backing instruments.
When things are a lot more minimalistic, you can kind of pick things out better. And that's what happens with MIDI Swamp.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
This kind of reminds me of doing One Wayne G in a way.
I could see that, yeah.
Yeah, One Wayne G gave me burnout.
Yes.
I want to see Mac DeMarco's face again.
But like the experimentation and just the ideas that were on display there, like I also was doing One Wayne G with the idea of like, okay, this is a video game soundtrack. What song is this? What song will play? You know, for like, where would this play, right? And having that kind of filtered in for me a little bit with the whole idea of it being MIDI, I thought was really rad. I don't know, like MIDI hit me in a way that I like Psychedelic just did not.
Yeah. Like Psychedelic Swamp is fun, it's a good listen, but MIDI Swamp is just more, and it's somehow it's artistically less, but it's artistically more at the same time.
Because it's less, it allows you to really say what's happening with it, and that's what makes it more.
It shows you how simple like the melodies and vibes are for Dr. Dog, while also allowing you to appreciate the complexity of like the original record in a way too.
But also, I think it's a great, lesson to musicians about like how less can be more, right? And like, how it's always good to make standout melodies and like make things have that contrast, even if you don't super hear it in one mix.
Yeah,
you might hear it in a different version.
That is true.
Like it goes back to the idea of like creating characters, right? And like if they have a recognizable silhouette, then you got something.
Yes.
In the same way, if your song is more recognizable in a different form, like MIDI, you got something.
There's always been a way for like a thing that songwriters are told is that if your song can be performed with just voice and acoustic guitar, you have a good song. And I think that stands true too with the MIDI version.
And I think some of that's a little exaggerated because I don't know if you can do a house song justice with just an acoustic guitar, but
Yeah.
But yes, and say something more. I don't know.
Is there really more to say though? I mean,
would you like to get lost in the swamp, Ritz?
Oh yeah, that's the thing that you said. That you said you were listening to this during a thunderstorm, so you listened to it in swamp. I listened to this at Cobblers, so you said I was listening to it in Swamp Pass.
Yes.
Oh, I was going to ask you to bring up the third version. What I was going to do.
Yes, the third version, which was actually just the original version, but the bass player was talking about how he used to run with this theater crowd. And one of his goals for this album was that he wanted to punch it up and add a script to it and make it a musical.
Joker 2.
So
I think this makes more sense as a musical than Joker 2, though.
Is this your fourth unofficial musical of the year?
What were my other three?
Music from the Elder, Black
Yes.
Rider.
Yes.
And fuck.
Maybe I should pick an unofficial musical for next week.
Oh, Post-Apocalypto.
That's right, yes. I guess it is.
It's a very specific subgenre of a subgenre, but by golly, you've got it nailed down.
I have.
I just hinted that I'd be joining it, and then no one reacted enough. Anyway, as you were saying.
No, I think you when you pick something like that, it works really well, Trix. I fucking think this is really rad. I'm really glad.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun to cover and listen to.
You're just full of good picks recently.
Hell yeah. Will I use up all that goodwill next week? Let's see.
Does anyone else have anything to say?
Favorites of this. I mean, my favorite out of all this is probably still Badvertising, the Psychedelic Swamp version. But my favorite of the two was Mini Swamp. He Is Me goes up there with the favorites as well. I don't know if I really have a least favorite because I can't really tell you the title tracks out of all the tracks of the titles out of all of them. There was one on Mini Swamp that I feel like the vocal sample just kind of went on for a bit too long, and I just kind of stopped.
Probably
caring.
Swamp Livin' Travel Ad.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
I actually quite like that song though.
I think that's my least favorite though. Sorry to say.
Fair enough.
On Psychedelic Swamp, Bring My Baby Back, Fire on My Back, Advertise, those are my favorites. My least favorites, probably something like Golden Hind. But in Mini Swamp, like, I quite like Swamp Descent and Swamp Theme, Sadvertise, Badvertise, He Is Me. Swamp Is On is also really fucking good too. My least favorite, I don't know. The Attachment, maybe. Maybe Swamp Living just for the length.
Fair enough. Favorites for me on Psychedelic Swamp, I'm going to go with Bring My Baby Back, Fire on My Back, Engineer Says, and no release favorites off Psychedelic Swamp. And for MIDI Swamp, my favorites are actually Swamp Livin', the travel ad, which has that big long monologue in it, and the ending track, He Is Me. No least favorites.
All right.
I think it's time to rank everything this week.
Rank. I'll rank first.
Let us rank.
This will be hard. I'm gonna start from the top. My favorite of the week is definitely Midi Swamp. After that, we're going at Party Dozen. But now here's the question, right? Which one is third best? Is it Psychedelic or is it Moonshaped Pool? And I think just because of the songs that are good on there, I'm gonna go Moonshaped Pool than Psychedelic Swamp.
Okay.
I'll start from the bottom. Psychedelic Swamp is my least favorite. And then the rest are all good. I didn't even hate Psychedelic Swamp. Mini Swamp is going to be my third. I like the Party Dozen album, but I feel like I put it as number 2. I think the Radiohead album is my favorite of this week.
Wow.
It's a rarity because we've usually had hot takes about Radiohead.
Yeah. For me, I'll start at the bottom and I'll throw Radiohead at the bottom. Then I'm going to do Psychedelic Swamp, Party Dozen, Midi Swamp.
Party Dozen is the universal number 2.
Yeah. We got one of them. But, Dominic,
yes.
It's finally time to end this.
Yes, it is time.
And before you go, this is the last episode before I'm off for 1 week on a holiday here. So it's really good timing that this is the end.
Yeah.
It is indeed. It is the Muse album, the latest Muse album, Will of the People. Will of the People. I have not really listened to this very much at all. Like, I think I've listened to the Fantana review more than I've listened to the album. Along with this, where is it? I'm gonna put in a single that Muse did for a movie. I believe this was from a Twilight movie.
Yep.
Neutron Star Collision, Love is Forever.
Yep. Which made a Hottest 100. It gets added in there.
So like, it's not really my pitch for Muse doing James Bond, because we've already talked about Supremacy being that, but I didn't want to talk about Muse in that context because we were already going to be.
I swear, if we started talking about songs that made the Twilight soundtrack, I have a partner that's about to just get overexcited, so let's not do that.
I believe Tom York also was on the Twilight soundtrack somewhere separately, but we didn't cover that, and that's fine.
All right.
The spirit of Tom York is angry, but we will let it rest for now.
I think Muse was a bit more well known for the Twilight soundtrack than Tom York was.
I mean, Supermassive Black Hole was fucking huge.
Yeah.
All right, that's it.
And then, of course, we're also doing the rest of the James Bond stuff as well.
Yes.
Yeah, but that we've talked about those. Those are both of your picks, though. So I guess technically I'm asking you to do it, but yeah.
I would like to pick next.
Go ahead.
So we covered Paul McCartney this week for the first time, like officially. And did you guys know that he was in a band before Wings?
No.
That's right.
Time you've done that joke.
That's right. We're going to be covering his 1971 album, Ram, that he recorded with his wife, Linda McCartney, that was released before the first Wings album.
The joke gets shittier. So I said that I would join the fake musical thing, and there is a 2024 album, an Australian 2024 album, which has that kind of theme going, not just its with its album art, but the music videos, some of the themes in just the way it goes into that kind of whole fake musical thing. So I figured, let's add it on, let's do it. It's the Girl and Girl album, Call a Doctor, from this year. I'm just looking to see if there's something else I can just tack on, because it's been a pretty it's coming to that point where it's kind of really hectic going into this. Like, we got everything that needs to be added.
Paranoid put stuff out.
No shit.
Origami Angel.
You know who put out an album, and I know it's a long one here, but I think there's something that we should just do. I haven't listened to it yet, but it kind of really makes sense that we just kind of cover this. It's Death to Art by Tism.
All right.
Oh, is that new?
Yeah, that came out 3 days ago.
Okay.
Holy fuck.
Hell yeah.
Oh, 80 minutes long.
Yep.
I'm looking this up right now.
Oh shit. I didn't even know this was happening. Like, I know there were singles out, but I didn't realize they had put out an album.
Yep, there is a couple of albums that came out on Friday that I'm planning to do, but we can't do all of them. There was another one as well, which we will be covering when I get back, that was also around 80 minutes.
Okay. I have stuff to cover too for when you're gone, so we'll figure something out.
Yeah.
All right. So that leaves us then with Muse, Will of the People. Hello, Manny. Yes. With the Neutron Star Collision single, Paul and Linda McCartney's Ram, Death to Art by Tism, and what was the other one?
Girl and Girl, Call the Doctor.
Girl and Girl, Call the Doctor. Yes. Hello.
Aww.
You should call a vet now.
All right. That'll do it for us this week. This has been Dissonant Waves. My name is Dominic. You can catch me online at DACICHOCKI on Twitter, Dominic Coca on YouTube if you must. And this has been Manny. Manny, do you have anything to say?
Yeah.
Purring and just rubbing the mic and also my arm. So that's what Manny has to say. And all my other stuff's in the description below. The Games on Mount Fun podcast, etc., etc.
I have been riddled. You can catch me at the ice cream store getting a milkshake in a minute, because I fucking want a milkshake. Over to Trix.
I have been Trix. You can catch me in bed.
Ooh.
All right. That's going to do it for us this week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for making it fun. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.